Hi, my name is Julia Lawrence, and this is my issue speech. Many people living in Alaska today have fond memories of the Iditarod dog sled race. In 1967, the Iditarod became a commemorative event celebrating mushers and their dog teams by showcasing the best dog sled teams from around the world in the last great race. Even with all that nostalgia and the history of the Iditarod, this race has been overshadowed in recent years by allegations of abuse. Today I'm going to talk to you about the sled dog's role in the history of the Iditarod, the treatment of sled dogs, and how the race has evolved to keep up with current culture. Without the sled dog, the face of Alaska would be very different from what it is today. Although the role of the sled dog plays an enormous part in the history of Alaska, there's no doubt that the number one reason for the creation of the Iditarod is the Alaskan Husky. In the 1890s through the 1900s, the original Iditarod Trail was used to deliver provisions, mail, and gold miners to the interior of Alaska. In the 1920s, with the use of aircraft, the popularity of the sled dog and the sled dog team started to dwindle. Sled dog teams became virtually non-existent with the introduction of the snowmobile. Many Native American cultures that previously relied on the sled dog team to hunt and fish and travel were trading in their dogs for snow machines. In the 1960s, it had become clear to Iditarod race creators Dorothy Page and Joe Redington that the majority of suburban Alaskans didn't even know about the existence of the historic Iditarod Trail. According to Iditarod.com, one of the reasons Joe Redington gave for wanting to organize the long race was to save the sled dog culture and the Alaskan Husky from being completely phased out by the introduction of the snow machine. There's no question these dogs are remarkable athletes in their own right. Each Iditarod team was only allowed 12 to 18 dogs to run the race, and every one of them were at the top of their game. The Iditarod is no ordinary race. It covers a large area of Alaska, and oftentimes the dogs are forced to endure snow, ice, extreme wind chills, and long hours. As the Iditarod became more popular and therefore more competitive, dogs were pushed harder and harder to endure these conditions with less rest. This then caused it to gain more attention from animal rights groups concerning the health and treatment of the sled dog. When anyone hears of the Iditarod, the first thing that pops into their mind is the Husky, and more so the Alaskan Husky. This is a mixed breed that has been bred to be faster and more capable of pulling heavy loads. Without these dogs, the Iditarod would be non-existent. In the beginning years of this event, the race took 20 or more days to cross the roughly 1,000 miles between Anchorage and Nome. Those times have become significantly shorter and shorter as the competition has become more popular. The shorter times and higher stakes have caught the eye of many animal rights groups concerned about the health and welfare of the sled dog. Issues from thoughts on tethering to more serious allegations of abuse have put a dark cloud over the race. The website animals.howstuffworks.com gives an account of documented cases of animal abuse within the Iditarod. Each of these accounts, the accused were prosecuted and suffered fines or penalties due to the abuse of the animals within the race. Some of the accusations made by groups such as PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or AVAR, Association of Veterinarians for the Animal Rights, are subjective and the cause of much tension between supporters of the Iditarod and animal activists. One of the main issues covered by PETA is whether or not tethering is a humane practice. Tethering is used by kennels to keep the dogs in close proximity to their separate spaces while not working. There are good arguments on both sides, with PETA claiming that tethering doesn't allow the dogs to socialize and mushers stating that it's for theirs and the dog's safety against dogfights. Additionally, some breeders also participate in the act of culling. This is another name for putting down a dog that is either sick or old. All of this being said, none of these actions are practiced by every kennel. In the last few years, many strides have been taken by mushers and team owners to ensure the health and safety of their dogs. Excuse me. Bringing an ancient practice into the modern world is never easy. This is no less true for the case of dog sledding, where what used to be normal, such as tethering and culling, are now falling out of practice in favor of more humane and sustainable practices. One major player in the fight to preserve dog sledding while promoting animal care and maintaining the history of all of it is Mush with Pride. Pride standing for providing responsible information of a dog's environment. Mush with Pride was organized in 1991 to join people together that love dog sledding and were concerned about the public perception of mushing. News station KTUU reports that in 2018, the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race Board voted to make Mush with Pride kennel care program mandatory for all mushers participating in the Iditarod. This kennel care program was not only put together by mushers and veterinarians, but is also backed by scientific research. These practices are not exclusive to the kennel, but are also being brought to the trail as well. The Iditarod employs countless volunteers each year to ensure the health and wellness of the dogs and the mushers at every checkpoint and throughout the race. Iditarod Air Force volunteers drop supplies off the day before the start of the race to ensure the entire team stays well fed during each scheduled break. Each dog must be registered and microchipped. They're all monitored for health issues and blood tested for the use of performance-enhancing drugs. All of these rules, along with new guidelines on food for the dogs and straw for their bedding, are making the dog sledding more compatible with today's society. Dog sledding may be an ancient practice, almost lost in the modern age, but it has made great strides to find its place in the new millennium. The Iditarod is a fairly new competition, but the practice of dog sledding is an age-old tradition. From running supplies across the bush to being a staple of the Alaskan Native culture, the sled dog is an important part of making Alaska what it is today. The smudge on this sport has been the severe allegations of animal abuse in recent days. Worries that the sport is focused more on competition than the welfare of dogs has had certain animal rights groups up in arms. All of this negative attention, however, has had a positive effect on the sport as a whole. Small changes to keep the dogs happier and healthier have made dog sledding far more enjoyable for everyone. If you would like to learn more information on the Iditarod or Mush with Pride, please visit iditarod.com or mushwithpride.com. Thank you very much.